Hello, this is National Chess Master R. Rats. I'm here with the Members Best Game videos. This was a game submitted by White. It's a pretty fun game. It comes down from a mainline Sicilian defense. Let's just get to the main position first, and we'll talk about it. Okay. Could be a lot of variations. Could be the knight oaf. It could be becomes, I guess, an offshoot of the carries attack, something that White does against a Scheveningen system, except that Black has spent the tempo a6. Okay, and here's the idea, g4. And this is named after Grandmaster Paul Carys of Estonia. I don't know how many games he played with it. It's certainly an aggressive system by White. It avoids a lot of the mainline stale drawish lines that this type of opening get. It's one of many weapons at White's disposal, among them like the Richter-Rosser attack and so forth, which are all beyond the scope of this video. But let's just talk about this position for a second, since it's not exactly the mainline carries attack. Usually in the carries attack, it comes against the Scheveningen, where Black hasn't played a6 yet, and White hasn't played bishop e3. So this position has still been seen in theory, and I'm not going to discuss opening theory. We're just going to discuss principles. What Black does, White questions it, but it seemed to be one that was played. White says why. That's what his comment says, but I also agree. Why? Why move a pawn? Okay. Black has to develop. Both sides have to develop your pieces. That's your number one priority. Because without active pieces, your pieces in the game, you're not going to get anywhere. You're just not. And if your opponent's developing his, look out. And you're not, oh man. Okay, so without discussing all the possible variations like here, this, what can Black do here? Okay, well, he can develop a piece. He can develop his bishop to c6 or e7, and if White kicks the knight, well, it just goes to d7, and there's nothing making Black castle kingside into that attack, right? Black is solid on the queen side. He can just hunker down, slowly untangle his forces, play moves like queen c7. This knight from d7 can go to c5. The other knight can go out to c6. And once d7's clear, this bishop can go to d7, and Black can safely castle queenside. That's several moves. White has a chance to demonstrate what he can do. But every one of those moves was developing moves. Every single one of them. Okay? And instead, Black's just going to get a bad game here because he doesn't develop. Okay? So let's see what happens. h6. And White does. White offers him a pawn. And White's comment is he can take a g-pawn, but I will get the g-file. Okay, so I'm not going to sit here and try to say that Black should take that pawn or not. A bold player, a high-rated player, could probably take the pawn, and chances are he has a good chance to beat his low-rated player simply because he's a low-rated opponent because he's bagged the pawn. But, in light of everything else, what's the main rule? To develop. Now, Black again violates this principle. What he plays is fine. It's in principle. It's something that Black does in these Sicilian defenses constantly, but it does one thing, or doesn't do one thing. It doesn't develop a piece. Black could still go with the plan I was giving. Black could play bishop e7, queen c7, the queen safe on c7, bring the knight to c6, the bishop can go to d7, and Black can castle. And he's fine. He doesn't have to castle kingside into the kingside attack that White's trying to muster. So, there's a time to play b5, and this is not the time, okay? This is the time to develop, but Black doesn't do it. And White starts handling this very well from this point out. So, and it happens because Black didn't develop. But White does. And he castles, and he says here, I like this kind of positions when there are attacking chances for both sides. Well, yes, there are attacking chances for Black, but they're a long way away. Black isn't developed yet. Yeah, he's threatening to play b4 and win a pawn, but, that's a dangerous pawn to be after if you're gobbling pawns and while White's getting developed. I wouldn't want to play b4 here and win that pawn on e4. I wouldn't want to win that pawn on g4. So, excuse me. Well, okay, that came out of nowhere. Left field, so to speak. Okay, so what should black do here? Well, I've already said what black should do here. Black should develop, okay? Now, he's missed two chances to get that bishop out to e7 and start coordinating those queenside forces. And here he misses another chance, okay? And he makes another move which is going to cost him. Queen c7. Now, the queen will come out there eventually, and it would have been safer there had black not advanced the pawn to b5, as you will see in just a moment. And here's what white says. I don't know theory supports this move or not, but it looks kind of unusual to me. And yeah, it is, because it's premature. The minor pieces of black's haven't gotten developed. And black could still safely castle queenside in this position, as I've already explained. It's all a very simple maneuver, but he hasn't done it. So let's count up. White has 3 minor pieces out, his queen out, and he's castled. He just has 1 minor piece and a king rook to get into play. Black has 3 minor pieces and to get into play, to castle and develop the other rook. Black's like 4 or 5 tempos down. So white finds a very good move here, I think, e5. And he says here, giving a pawn for the opening of the d file is not a bad idea. It will get me some initiative. Well, precisely, exactly. When you're ahead in development, what do you want to do? Well, you want to open up the position, because if you open up the position, your pieces, the ones that are going to seize those open lines, and that's just basically stonehole card fact. White's ready to seize all kind of lines here. The bishop can go to g2. If the d file opens up, there might be a potential checkmate on d8 with the queen. I'm not threatening it yet, but it could come up. So anyway, what should black do? Well, he's starting to lag behind development. Now the board is opening up, so it's really hard to suggest a good move for black. White gives black's move a dubious move, and we'll give him credit for that. We'll assume it probably is. But what else could black do here? If black took the pawn, the alternative is to move the knight. Taking the g4 pawn is risky. Maybe could try it. I don't know. But black just got himself in a bad way because he hasn't developed. So he's gambling everything that he can grab a pawn, hang on to it, and somehow win the game. But with the board opening up like this, white just got all kinds of possibility here. And white does a very good combination here. And this kind of stuff comes up a lot in Sicilian defense positions. White sacrifices a piece, and it's with tempo. And earlier white couldn't go to that square if black hadn't played b5 without just getting the knight attacked. But black has done two things, or taken, not attacked. Black has done two things to help white out. Number one, he's pushed the pawn to b5, which is costing him a pawn, plus his queen is a target on c7. So black has just helped white with his attack by his choice of moves. So black pretty much has to bite the bullet here and take it and allow this. And white's comment here is black only has one good move, and that's it. And surprise, surprise, white gets the queen's exchange, but black's just left with such a horrible game here. Again, no development. The board's open, and it's white's move. And white comes up with a good move here. He attacks the rook, and I took a look at this position. I'm going to show you something in just a minute when I get to it. This position absolutely looks lost for black, even though he's ahead a piece. Because let's see what happens. The natural move, which white or black played, is to take this pawn. But unfortunately, the rook is no longer guarding on the 5th rank, guarding c5, and white has this little combination. and check, and the king comes up, and then white to play and do the best he can. Do you find it? Pause the video if you don't. Well, I hope you found this move. That's checkmate. So, nice combination, and white knew when to sacrifice. He sacrificed on e5 and he sacrificed on b5. So it's a very, very, very good game. But let's come back to this position for a moment. How bad off is black? Clearly he can't take on take on a2. What else does he do with the rook? If you go to a8, the same thing happens. If you go to a6, it happens. And black's just losing. Black cannot move his rook. So what does black do here? Try to grab some wood himself? There's two possible lines I see. Knight takes g4. Then if white plays bishop takes a5, maybe black gets another pawn down here. I have a feeling white's going to do fine, and I invite white to take that position and analyze it out a little bit on his own. I think it'll help his analysis. There's only one other logical move I can come up with, and that's knight c6. Okay, knight c6 basically says, okay, I'll take two pieces for the rook. Now, white's got some happy choices here. Does he take the rook, or does he look around for a better move? I mean, there's nothing to be wrong at all about taking away the castling privilege from black, because now maybe black wants to castle kingside since the queens are off. But this is a good position for white to sit and analyze. I think it'd be good for his chess rather than me sit here and show you everything. But white's clearly better off in the other variation. Let me just put the other variation up on the board. I'm not saying it's forced. I was saying this is just a possibility, but you're giving up a rook to do it. And if anything, white's still coming out good with nothing wrong with driving the king out. Now the king does have a flight square, but he can run into some real trouble here in a hurry, and not to mention the fact that white can come down to the 8th rank, be pinning this bishop, be lined up against both those pieces. Why is black so in trouble on the back rank? Well, because he didn't develop. Okay, this is what happens to you when you don't develop, and when your opponent does, and white just found some thematic sacrifices. Very, very, very good game, white. Thanks for your time for looking at it, and it's a good position to study. Take care now. Thanks.